Everyone say hi to Rob. He just messaged me on Skype. Hi, Rob. Rob of Red Bull Esports, a good buddy of mine. This is hi. He's been playing Super Smash Brothers, which I think would please you greatly. I want to go into this game. We're back for Daily 713, Part 2. We're looking at Soulkey's play. So we set the groundwork, which is that this build can sometimes win in the mid-game and has a lot of tools to hold off scary things that are thrown at you in the mid-game. And I've dangled before you, like good old local news, that many expands are down the corner. So what does that mean? What does that entail? With lots of expansions, Soulkey will obviously have enough larva to do interesting transitions. I think larva is sort of the hidden resource in transitions. If you want to suddenly get a whole bunch of Mutalisks and surprise them, it's not resources you need like 50 larvae, so you need the hatches to be able to do that. Soulkey will have those if he has a lot of bases, but also Soulkey will have a lot of gas. Oh my god, it sounds too good to be true! Well, the problem is that we are very spread out if we're Soulkey. So we must freaking deal with that. So Soulkey goes for hatch first down here, is patrolling with a drone to make sure he doesn't get cannon rushed because his enemy is SOS, as you might imagine. Who does it? Oh my god, this guy. And then Soulkey is forced to answer, so not a particularly delightful start for our hero Soulkey, but that's exactly what we're hopeful for. We want to see the bumpiest, rockiest start so we can have all the confidence that we have a good build before us. So Soulkey will do what all Zergies do and get himself another hatchery poo. Hatchery poo! Hatchery poo! Okay. As you might expect, you shouldn't be all that surprised when you see a pair of geysers go down. I don't know, something around 5 minutes and 30 seconds seems like a good time. As we generally expect, come on one time, 5:30. Oh, thank God. Oh, whew, I get to keep my career. Nice. We see where is this? A delayed queen. Okay, okay, excellent, good, as expected, as desired. Queen comes after the two. Blah, Queen's throwing up. Overlord's getting themselves positioned, and just after the 6-minute mark is when Soulkey is going to become Scout Key and check in there. Checking them bases. What do you know, Joe? It's a Leia. You know what comes after a Leia? Zergling speed, Joe. Here it comes. And I get to keep my job. Fantastic. 3 Spore Crawlers going down. We talked about how cool Soulkey was to delay them in our very first game of Part 1. But in this game, that would not be so cool, because this is a game where you are very exposed to air. But just a single spore, not too many. When the layer is halfway done, indeed Soulkey gets himself another pair of geysers, and when those pair of geysers and that layer are done, we're going to see, oh, hatchery and Evo Chambre. We also see 2 more gas geysers going down. The quicker Protoss takes a third, the quicker we can go for these gas geysers to leverage how many bases we will have. So Soulkey is doing a style that he became very famous for, opening up with a Stargate and then mass Stargate on 3 base. So what does Soulkey do? Expands. That's the wrong button. That's the right one. Anytime Soulkey is feeling roughly like he's not going to get hit by ground pressure, he expands. Easy trigger to do it. If you see your opponent go Stargate, expand a third, boom, you can throw down an extra base. A couple Zerglings get built. You're noticing that it's roughly the same play that we saw Soulkey do on our very first game. Not a terribly large amount of drones. Soulkey has also seen Void Rays, because they killed off this Overlord here. And look, it's the same transition. Spire with the 4th, but also an Infestation Pit. Now, typically, this is the play where I see most Zerg players do one thing, and I see Soulkey do a completely different thing. Normally, at this point in time, most Zergs will be going for the 4th base and stuff, but many Zergs will be pulling back into some composition. They'll be maybe going for a hive, but then they'll be getting roaches, and roaches with speeds. That way they can go Hydra, Roach, Viper. And that's the same sort of player that if a mid-game attack were coming at him, he would go Hydra, Roach, and then wait a little bit to keep alive in the mid-game attack, and then later on get a Viper. So, I would never condemn that at all. That's actually very smart. That's rearrangement of build orders. What makes Soulkey so cool is that, sure, if he's attacked, he'll go into Roach Hydra. We saw that in game number 1. But if he's not, he just keeps expanding. He just keeps expanding out and out and out and out. We have these Hydras with speed coming up. Why? Because he saw Void Race. The rest of the time he wants to get range so he can be on the other side of force fields, but against Void Race he wants to be able to catch them. That kill of the Geyser is sort of a significant reminder that Soulkey, by getting so many bases, focuses on gas. And look at that! There's another base coming up. Throwing down spores. Spickety, fickety, spore. Anti-air some more. Floopity, boopity, boo. Anti-air for you. Tons of gas focus. Back home we see his flyer attack, ranged attack. See a couple lings coming out. If we actually go to the Soulkey cam, we can see that as his vision dwindles, he gets more Zerglings to reveal said vision. Making sure to hold on to the watchtowers. So, I will stop before the big death army arrives. First 2 games we saw in part 1 were about standard mid-game Protoss attacks, and that is one of those danger times where you can potentially die. In game 1, Soulkey just smacked that aside. In the second game, Soulkey almost held it off, and we can clearly see that he could have, had he just not made the big blunder at the start of the game. And after that period, this is around the second time, and it's not a timing attack. It's around when your 5th base is up and running, but before you've really gotten your hive tech going. Protoss can hit you from so many different sides, and we will see Soulkey suffer exactly that. I'm so thrilled this game exists because I don't have to talk theory. I can talk theory and we can see the praxis right here. We now get to see the benefit of all this early gas. We're going to have 10 geysers by 14 minutes. I mean, this is really fast 10 geyser. If we need to be in a lot of places at once, great, we get the Mutalisks to be able to do that. If our Protoss enemy is turtling his ass off, we can do any number of things. We can go Mutalisk, we can go Swarm Hosts, we can go whatever we so like. Note that this infestation pit was built before the huge surge of Void Rays, so the fact that it's researching pathogen glands can be treated as a response, not just something he's doing blindly. So here's where things get scary as SOS moves in. Oh me, oh my, he's gonna kill bases off. Uh-oh, SOS moving in the backside. But these gas units are going to do a lot of good. We're getting hit in the main base. Let's keep a tabs on the workers killed off. This is annoying and difficult, and part of the reason why Zerglings and Zerglings with speed have been emphasized. Why Hydras with Hydra speed and Mutalisks have been emphasized. So we have those tools to get every which way. And this is the part that just takes skill. It's not about building defensive structures every which way. It's just about being smart and cautious and skillfully splitting things up in many different ways. SOS is the best in the world at this. And this map is probably the hardest map in the rotation for Zerg doing this strategy, and still SOS is going to be able to hold it off. And I will happily again and again point to this ridiculous amount of gas. I mean, this is very gruesome. It shouldn't always be this gruesome. It just is so happening to be so in this game. Again, because of circumstances of the map. But we will note to do this that SOS has not really been able to take a secure expansion. And Soulkey still has a very intimidating air force. So contrary to what would be typically expected in this position, which would be a Zerg needing to play somewhat conservatively, stay somewhat held back, Soulkey, thanks to the ridiculous amount of gas that he has thusly mined, has a lot of Corruptors, a lot of Mutalisks, has a lot of good upgrades. He has 1/1 done, and +2 for Mutas done. He is able to actually mount an extremely gas-heavy counteroffensive. And this is what delights me so much about what we see from Soulkey, and the way that this play will always feel. You will feel like you're getting pushed back, and then it's just like, and then you just kill him. After all that crazy aggression, whoa, SOS, you're harassing. Soulkey just walks to his base and kills him. Generally, I would prefer not as extreme an example. I would prefer to see the Zerg running around, barely defending, and then after the defense, Protoss is in a difficult spot. But SOS will not provide us with anything but a very extreme game, where he does nothing but warp and zealots to try to kill Zerg, and then the immediate snap back and a really, really easy win. Like, there was not even a complex micro-engagement. He just walked in and killed him. Which is fairly typical for this many base. Watch now the very long game that occurred between SOS and Soulkey, where we'll see a different kind of struggle. It'll be a much more evened out struggle. I think that this is probably, the first half is the best example of Soulkey's build-up. Spawning pool at 14, very fast. Hatchery going down. We see that nobody is here. Where will we take our third? Well, we talked about this in part 1. If you see a Protoss here, you got to take this as your third base. But now that we see Protoss here, let's see where he goes. Where could it be? Soulkey, per usual, building not 2 Zerglings and then trying to get away with all the things. He's instead sending 6, a few to do a little bit of initial work. And initial work they will do. Now we see a little bit of a different build coming up out of Soulkey. He's gotten his Gas Geyser. He's up against the rather different gateway first type play. But we'll still see Soulkey do roughly the same push to the same spot. You'll note that he's still right around 530, getting 2 Gas Geysers going. One was already done, so one was built a little bit later. And he's just going to very quickly get himself up. Oh, hatch. He's going to very quickly get himself up. The layer tech. Now, this Roach Warren stuff, this, I want you not to think of as a different build, as him doing something very different. All we're seeing out of Soulkey is an answer to early gateway attacks, and the rest is going to be approximately the same. Roach is being built to hold off early attacks. Ling's being built. So we see the hatch going up. We see additional pair of geysers. After that layer's up, we see some stuff that just kind of winds up happening if your opponent goes for early gateway. But let's see if we get to keep our job. When the layer finishes, we see a Hydralisk den get built right away. Roach speed. Why? Because we already have a lot of roaches and we already have a roach warren. No need to get too ridiculously overcomplicated with it. So what most players would kind of be leaning towards doing in Soulkey's shoes, we tend to see extra macro hatches here very, very, very often. But we will instead see Soulkey spend a lot of his time getting up gas to do a gas-heavy army, which is Hydralisk base. This will give time for his minerals to build up to the point where he can take another expand right around 11 minutes. I think it's here. Is it here? Right around 11 minutes? Spire, same stuff as before. Infestation Pit, same stuff as before. Looks like it's a little later this game. Whoopsie daisies. My notes are off. No big deal. I want you still to sense the same general theme. Wow, things had a very different start. Protoss did a different opening. Zerg had to respond by getting these suckers. And then we still see the same thing. Mid-game aggression, while getting up a 4th base, while going for Spire and Infestation Pit. I can't emphasize enough that what we're seeing here is the same concept as before. You might even go so far as to say, yes, the same build, he just made the defensive Roach Warren they needed to make. But it's the same damn thing. And I want to emphasize that sameness. Not for any ulterior goal of trying to draw a parallel, but because I know so many people who are thrown curveballs in their games of StarCraft and they get lost and they're unsure what to do. We see Soulkey in very different games pulling back to the same ideas. Doing mid-game aggression with Hydralisks that have the range upgrade. Getting a 4th base while going for Spire and Infestation Pit. Applying mid-game pressure while all this is going on. And it's waking. It's waking so much. Now again, oopsie daisies, again what we would see a traditional Zerg player do in this spot is stop expanding. Get up another hatchery. Soulkey will do no such thing. Soulkey's doing a pretty typical Roach Hydra play. 67 drones, not too many. Pretty typical Roach Hydra play, teching up to Hive to soon enough get the yoinkas. The good old yoinkers to pick everything down. Roaches are being constructed right now, a fantastic choice. Alas, it gets taken down, but not before Soulkey eliminates this expansion. So good. We see some Phoenixes causing blips on our minimap that are actually nothing to be concerned about. And Vipers ensue. Now you're noticing, once again, because there's no macro hatch, and because we're doing a gas-focused army, we're going to be a little low on gas. We're maxed out, so we can't build beyond that, but the minerals being high is very typical of this circumstance. Very, very typical. So where we would normally see players relying on a macro hatch and starting to burn all their money rebuilding Roach Hydra, we see a Greater Spire come up. It's going to be a transition to the Broodlords. And we'd normally see a Zerg struggle in this spot to have enough gas to maintain this pressure and to transition to something else. Soulkey has no such issue because, as we're going to see, he's going to be on 10 freaking geysers. And look how early those geysers go down. Attacks abound. Soulkey is just being rather cautious. Now gets 10 Corruptors up. is losing some army trying to do the run around. Geysers are so important. Go drones. Not even extra drones being built, just shifting them to gas. Because you need more drones to increase your mineral income, but all you need is extra bases to increase your gas income. I think Soulkey ran into this on accident. Oh, yeah, totally. This might very well be the notable blunder that put Soulkey into a rough spot in this game. Because normally we would say that SOS is dead, but SOS is an expert at just not dying. Ever. Does he have charge too? What a kick-ass badass. I love SOS. Oh shit, did he cancel this? Oh my god, that's the sickest error. These all could have been morphed into Broodlords. Oh man, oh what a whoopsie daisies. That is a total... Never mind, that's the misstep that screwed things over. We see Soulkey doing a lot of this sort of stuff, continuing to harass. Again, I would emphasize that he should be in a slightly better position because this Greater Spire should be done. He should have had to not do this attack and then should have been able to get Broodlords up and been in a very good position. Very unusual to be in position for a Zerg player at this point in the game because of how damn many bases Soulkey gets compared to the average bear. So there's some weirdness here. This is the moment where I want to stop and rewatch the last little bit because I don't think Soulkey actually had to get in this position. I will emphasize what we saw at 17 minutes where Soulkey was in nice spots. Here's his hive. He can go Greater Spire right now. Skip out on the +1. Perform this transition. I like a Greater Spire move here. Did he cancel it to get +1? Oh. Why did he cancel? Wait, was he was getting it like the 15-minute mark? Oh my god. Wait. He had to have been getting it like very, very early. When did he start the Greater Spire? He could have started the Greater Spire. Okay, wait a minute. Here's the hive. Here's the dancing. So when hive finishes, you should get a pair of Vipers. Beyond that, I don't really like Vipers. Maybe 3. Yeah, this is like the perfect time to get this. Why did this get canceled? No! Ah! Yeah, I have no sense of how to understand that. I definitely think that would have been a great thing for Soulkey to have. Because then as these attacks fail, I mean, you just easy peasy morph Broodlords here and there's no really good attack angle for SOS anymore and the game's done. But then this happens and oh, he waits for the +1 to get finished and then he gets a... I'm really trying to think through that. I don't think target firing here is as useful. And then right there, the transition to Mutalisks, I don't know so much about. That to me seems like Soulkey thinks that he has to base race, and I really don't think that he had to do that. But at the 20-minute mark, we wind up in a very unusual position. Could have been a lovely Zerg player sitting comfortably on 10 gas with some Broodlords. I don't really know what to make of that cancel there, but now Soulkey is in an unusual position. When we come back, we're going to watch Soulkey be in the bad spot and how he's going to get himself out of it. Kudos, of course, to SOS for going for 20 minutes on just 2 bases and making it work beautifully. What a badass. We'll be back after a short commercial break.